Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to What's on the Playlist today. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the debut album of the band Boston, titled Boston, an image of which you'll see right here. Um, this was just a staple in the 1970s. This was a breakout hit. But a little bit of background. Um, most of the tracks on this album, written by by Tom Schultz, lead singer, and he was a guy who worked in his basement, recorded all, played multiple instruments, recorded most of the tracks himself, except for the instruments he couldn't play. Not necessarily for this, but like he had spent years in his basement apartment doing this stuff, being in other bands, making demo tapes, stuff like that. Um, he played some demo tapes around, started recruiting other people, impressed some people, got signed to Epic Records. Cool. Um, But Epic Records wanted to come out to Los Angeles to record professionally out there. And what they did was they recorded one song out there, submitted that as, this is what we're working on, then went back to Massachusetts and recorded everything there. Most of it was mixed in Tom Schultz's like cobbled together recording studio with help from some other people. But, he had other people working with him, and he, brought other band members in. But yeah, everything on this album was, except for "Take Me Home Tonight," was written by Tom Schultz. And again, a majority of the songs were written like years prior when he was with other bands. He was with a band called Mother's Milk, and he wrote songs when he was with them. And he just, took a bunch of old songs that he had and just, rewrote them, reperformed them. He grew frustrated having to replay the demo stuff, and like I said, brought in other people to work with him. And there's a lot of like he would record one track, like he wouldn't have the whole band come in and play. He would just play something himself, record it, and then multi-layer everything on top of that and have multiple tracks, which is kind of what they do anyway. But this is someone doing it unprofessionally in his home studio that he put together himself. There was like instruments all over the place and back by the furnace. And man, this thing is clean. There was, if you listen to this, you would never guess that this is recorded in like an unprofessional homemade studio, because this stuff is solid. It was released in the summer of 1980. It was released in August of 1976 and went solid gold in like a couple of months. This thing was one of the fastest selling albums in history at the time. It was one of the highest grossing and best selling debut albums of all time for quite a while. I mean, up to this point, definitely. And this thing just went through the roof. There's only 8 tracks on this, 8 songs on this album. There were 3 top hits, 3 singles that were definitely top of the charts. And the other 5 songs got radio play. Every single song on this album has been played on the radio. This whole album was like a rock anthem for a year. If you were alive in the mid late 70s and you had $70 to put down on a piece of vinyl on a cassette, you liked rock music, this album was in your collection. Everyone bought this album. This was the hit of the year. This is one of those things that everybody had to have, hands down. And it has gone down as one of the definitive albums that, like, if people make, top 100 lists of albums you should definitely have in your collection, this is on that list of rock. Rolling Stone magazine puts out the list once in a while, and it's hard to dispute it because, man, this thing is solid. I could listen to this album all day long, and I hate listening to the same songs over and over again. I could do it with this. There's maybe, of the 800 plus albums in my collection, there's maybe 20 that I could do this to. This is one of them. And what's funny is I wouldn't consider Boston one of my favorite bands. It's not one of those things that like I don't have any of their other albums. This is the only one of theirs I have. But there's just something about this album that just, you know, it's just so good. This is also one of the very first CDs I ever owned. So this is probably one of the oldest compact discs, one of the oldest things physically in my collection. I have albums that are older. I have albums that I used to have in vinyl, but I've gotten rid of almost all my vinyl because CDs are smaller and take up less space. And when you've got 800 albums, you need the storage space. Yeah, and I didn't even own a CD player at the time. My roommate had a CD player. And by the time he moved out, I had like a dozen CDs. It's like, well, guess I got to buy a piece of stereo equipment to play these things on. And that's when my CD collection really took off. But yeah, this was one of the first dozen CDs I ever, I'm not sure what the first one I ever bought was. It might be this one. It might be one of two or three others. I can picture in my head the first CDs ever. This one, that one. I can picture the first four I ever owned. This is one of those. I just don't remember which one was first. But man, this is a rock classic, and it's a solid piece of music. I would recommend this album to anyone who likes rock music. This is just way up there as a piece of rock history. And it's something that is just, it's fun to listen to, and it is extremely well made music. Now that I've, gushed heavily about how awesome this album is for about 6.5 minutes, as always, thanks for watching. If you like these piece of crap, unscripted reviews, maybe watch the other stuff. I don't know. If you feel like it. And until next time, good hunting.